We will continue the course for EPA 608 Universal Course. Okay, we finished the study guide and we finished introduction and we finished core ozone in the last video. We will continue the next. Here, this core regulations and the guidelines. Let's start. Clean Air Act.
Did you know that the U.S. experienced severe air pollution in the 1940s and 1950s? One of the worst cases of air pollution took place in 1948 in Donora, Pennsylvania, where a thick smog containing harmful air pollutants covered the streets for 5 days. Nearly half of the town's 14,000 residents developed respiratory problems from inhaling the smog. By the 6th day, 40 people had lost their lives to respiratory complications. What happened in Donora was part of a pattern happening across the country. Air pollution affected both big cities and small industrial towns. It became clear that air pollution directly affected people's health. As a response to this, Congress passed the Clean Air Act, making it a federal law.
What is the Clean Air Act? A set of guidelines on limiting air pollutant. Okay, federal law. Yeah, federal law. Yeah, the Clean Air Act is a federal law found in Section 608.
The purpose of the Clean Air Act is to establish standards for the nation's air quality. Over the years, Congress passed several amendments to the Clean Air Act to add protections to the environment and to people's health. In 1990, Congress passed amendments that included Section 608. Section 608 of the Clean Air Act includes specific provisions regarding ozone protection. For example, it mandates that technicians must pass the EPA 608 exam to be qualified to buy and handle refrigerants that can affect the ozone layer. We will talk more about the specifics of Section 608 in a later module. This section of the Clean Air Act is regulated by the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. The penalties for any violations of the Clean Air Act include civil fines of up to $44,539 per day per violation as of 2017, criminal prosecution in a U.S. federal court, 5 years, or double if it's a second offense, confiscation of violating substances, refrigerants, and loss of certification to handle refrigerants. In addition to the Clean Air Act, which is a federal law, many state and local governments impose additional restrictions. These regulations may be equally or more stringent than those of the Clean Air Act. Therefore, in order to operate as a technician, you need to be up to date on state and local laws.
What is the purpose of Section 608? Select all that apply. To protect the ozone layer, yeah. To regulate use of chemicals that deplete ozone, yeah. To raise money through the fines, no. All economic reason, no. Correct. The main provisions of Section 608 are to protect the ozone layer by regulating chemicals that destroy it. What is the fine for violating the Clean Air Act? As of 2017, they will lose their certification, $608, $2,000, 44 per day, 44,539. Yeah. State and local regulation. Blank. Select all that are true. Have to follow in addition to federal CCA regulation. Yeah. Have to be followed in addition to. See, it's talking about state and local regulation. Have to be followed in addition to federal CCA regulation. Have to be followed instead. No, in addition. Maybe stricter than federal regulation. Yeah, yeah, correct. Both correct.
In a separate section of the Clean Air Act, the EPA also established SNAP, which stands for Significant New Alternatives Policy. The SNAP program was established to evaluate alternative refrigerants that are lower risk for humans and the environment. SNAP is not just a list of substitute refrigerants. It is an ongoing program that changes recommendations as the EPA evaluates new information on how refrigerants affect the environment. As technicians, it is your responsibility to keep up with current EPA guidelines.
What do what does SNAP stand for? Significant New Alternative Policy. Significant New Alliances Policy. Science Natural Alliance Policy. I don't remember this one. Let's answer one and see the correct answer. So what does SNAP? Science New Alliance Policy, I think. Which one? Which one? Science New Alliance Policy? Incorrect. Oh my god. I don't remember this one. What is the purpose of SNAP? Select all that apply to evaluate alternative refrigeration to future the goals of the CSA to consider effect of substance refrigerant on human. I think this one. To evaluate, I don't remember this one. To, okay, to consider this one. This one incorrect. Oh,
In conclusion,
let's revise it again.
in a separate section of the Clean Air Act, the EPA also established SNAP, which stands for Significant New Alternatives Policy. The
Okay.
SNAP program was established to evaluate alternative refrigerants that are lower risk for humans and the environment. SNAP is not just a list of substitute refrigerants. It is an ongoing program that changes recommendations as the EPA evaluates new information on how refrigerants affect the environment. As technicians, it is your responsibility to keep up with current EPA guidelines.
What does SNAP stand for? Significant New Alternative Policy. This one. Oh, we can't modify? Oh my god. Okay, next. Oh, we can't modify this one also? Oh, okay.
In conclusion, the Clean Air Act is a key piece of legislation in American history. Its main purpose is to control the environmental pollution that places humans at risk. Because the refrigerants we used in older systems depleted the ozone layer. Regulation of these refrigerants falls under the Clean Air Act.
Okay. So the Clean Air Act, we finished. Let's go to the next one. Ventilation prohibition.
Venting refers to the release of refrigerants into the atmosphere. The Clean Air Act states that it is a violation to purposely vent refrigerants that deplete the ozone layer. Remember, the ozone layer is essential in protecting humans from harmful UV rays from the sun. Specifically, it is illegal to knowingly vent CFCs, HCFCs, and their substitutes, including HFCs, into the atmosphere. To prevent venting, technicians must follow all proper procedures during servicing, repairing, and disposing of appliances with these refrigerants. If a technician purposely vents these refrigerants, they are subject to fines and criminal prosecution. As of 2017, penalties for venting include a fine of up to $44,539 per day per violation. For example, this means that with 2 violations over 3 days, you can be fined up to $267,234. The EPA offers a reward of up to $10,000 to individuals who supply information against a technician who deliberately vents. So, if you come across any violations, do contact the EPA. Recovering refrigerant means draining it from the appliance and capturing it in a separate storage cylinder. To avoid venting refrigerant, it is necessary to recover refrigerant from the equipment in question before servicing or disposing it. This is to prevent any venting of refrigerant during servicing or after disposal. At the end of the recovery, technicians need to make sure that there is no liquid refrigerant trapped in the service hose. Any refrigerant trapped in the hose is likely to be vented into the environment, which is in direct violation of the venting prohibition. Venting violations do not include losses of refrigerant during routine handling and servicing, provided that the equipment has all the appropriate low-loss fittings. If refrigerant is released because your equipment does not have low-loss fittings, it is considered a violation of the venting prohibition. In addition, you must also evacuate refrigerant to the required evacuation level while servicing equipment to prevent venting. This step is vital, and failure to implement it is considered to be violating the venting prohibition. Lastly, when leak checking an appliance, never add pressurized nitrogen to a fully charged appliance as it will contaminate the refrigerant in the system and make it impossible to reclaim. If there is a leak, pressurizing the system with refrigerant still inside it will only vent the refrigerant into the atmosphere. Imagine a water balloon with a hole. If you add water to the balloon using a high-pressure garden hose, the water will spill faster from the balloon. To prevent illegal venting, refrigerant evacuation must be conducted on appliances that are fully charged or even partially charged. As long as there is some refrigerant left in the system, you must recover it before leak testing.
Which of the following are violates of the CCA venting prohibition? Select all the apply. Release the refrigerant from improperly recovered appliances. Yeah. Releasing isobutane while servicing the equipment. Raising HCF. Refrigerant of catastrophic equipment failure. Refrigerants release from appliances without low loss fittings. Yeah. Only the release of refrigerant from improperly recovered appliances and appliances without lawless fitting constitute violate of CCCA violate. Okay, only this one. Which of the following refrigerants is covered under the venting prohibition? prohibition. Which of the following refrigerant is covered under the venting prohibition? Which one? Uh, CFCs only? CFCs and HFCs? Yeah, CFCs and HFCs, I think this one. Yeah, correct. The venting prohibition requires that you cover affected refrigerant before. Okay, that you cover affected refrigerant before opening equipment. Okay, servicing equipment, disposing of equipment. Okay, requires that you recover affected refrigerant before. Okay, before servicing or disposing. Incorrect. It is necessary to recover refrigerant before opening servicing, okay, and disposing. Yeah, this one also.
What if small
Opening or
amounts of
servicing
refrigerant
or
are released
disposing.
accidentally during servicing? There is a rule with an exception to the regulation called the de minimis rule for this purpose. De minimis, in terms of refrigerant, refers to an amount that is too insignificant to be a concern. This rule provides for conditions out of the technician's control that are true accidents. De minimis applies to the accidental release of substances during good faith attempts to recapture, recycle, or safely dispose of refrigerants. The rule only applies if technicians have taken all necessary precautions and followed proper servicing protocol. De minimis release covers catastrophic equipment failure, accidental release with timely repair of appliances, and releases when connecting or disconnecting hoses to charge or service appliances. Equipment must be equipped with low-loss fittings for this to apply. The EPA exempts refrigerants from the venting prohibition when it has determined that these refrigerants do not pose a threat to the environment. Natural refrigerants are exempt from the regulations of venting prohibition because they do not cause damage to the ozone layer. This means that they can be vented. Natural refrigerants include R290, propane, R600A, isobutane, R717, ammonia, R728, nitrogen, and R744, carbon dioxide. These refrigerants are substances naturally found in the world around us. Carbon dioxide and nitrogen, for example, are gases that are found naturally in the atmosphere.
Which of the following are considered the minimums release of refrigerant? Select all that apply. HCFC released when disconnecting hose equipment with low loss fittings. Release of carbon monoxide with low loss fittings. Release of HFC due to catastrophic failure of equipment. Okay, I think it's none of above. I don't know. No, none of above. HCFC released when disconnected hose equipped with yeah, to catastrophic failure. Correct. HCFC and HFCs under special circumstances that are example of the
In
minimum
this
release of
module, we discuss
refrigerant.
the
Okay.
venting prohibition portion of the Clean Air Act. The venting prohibition applies to all refrigerants that deplete ozone, as well as their substitutes. The purpose of the venting prohibition is to prevent these harmful chemicals from being released into the atmosphere and destroying the ozone layer.
Okay, so we finished this one. Clean Air Act, done. Okay, and venting provision. Okay, it is done also. So we will go to the next one. It is Montreal Protocol. Okay, we finished this one also. Okay. This all done. Okay. Okay, let's see. I think we finished this one. No, we didn't finish, I think. Protocol. No.
In this
Signed in 1987, the Montreal Protocol is an international treaty between 197 countries, including the United States. The treaty is a commitment among all 197 countries to protect the ozone layer. This treaty focuses on phasing out ozone-depleting refrigerants. This meant CFC and HCFC refrigerants. As discussed in our ozone depletion module, CFC and HCFC refrigerants destroy the ozone layer. In 2016, the Kigali Amendment was passed to update the agreement set forth in the Montreal Protocol. In the Kigali Amendment, member countries committed to also phase out HFCs. This is because although HFCs do not destroy the ozone layer, they contribute to global warming.
What is the Montreal Protocol? United States federal law, an international agreement between 197 countries. Yeah,
As part of the Montreal Protocol, the United
right.
States committed to end the use of substances that deplete the ozone layer. Phase-out dates set in the Montreal Protocol indicate the date after which a refrigerant is completely banned from being produced or imported. However, refrigerant contained in equipment manufactured before the phase-out date can still be used, bought or sold. Note that refrigerant needs to be reclaimed or reprocessed to virgin specifications before it can be sold to another person. We will discuss this process more in the next module. Technicians can still service equipment that uses CFCs or HCFCs after the phase-out date. This includes replacing failed components in equipment that contains these refrigerants. After the phase-out date, if equipment containing CFCs or HCFCs needs to be serviced, refrigerant needs to come from exemptions under the Montreal Protocol. Exemptions refer to refrigerant that is available in recovered, recycled, or reclaimed appliances only. According to the Montreal Protocol, all countries under the agreement must completely phase out HCFCs by 2030. In the United States, all CFCs were phased out on December 31, 1995. Additionally, the U.S. is in the process of completely phasing out HCFCs as well. The most harmful HCFCs were phased out on January 1, 2020. This includes the primary HCFCs used in systems in the U.S., which are R22 and R142B. With the phase-out of R22 and R142B in 2020, the U.S. has reduced HCFC consumption by 99.5%. All other production and import of HCFCs will be banned in January of 2030, completing the phase-out of all HCFCs. R22 is a HCFC refrigerant. Let's say a technician completes a major repair on a system with R22 refrigerant today. We know that the production and import of new R22 has already been banned, but the technician can still use R22 that is recovered or reclaimed. What the technician cannot do is top off the R22 system with a different refrigerant. This would mix the refrigerants irreversibly. Both would be impossible to reclaim. If the mixture is sent to a reclaimer, they are more likely to destroy it at the owner's expense. It is clear that mixing different refrigerants can get very expensive.
In which year were all CFC phased out of the United States in 1995? 95? By what will all HCFC be phased out of the United States? I think 2030, I think. Yeah. In the United States, when we are to 22 and R142B refrigerant phased out, it is R22 in 20, I don't remember, 20 or 2000, I think, 2000. No, it's like 2020. Yeah. After refrigerant is phased out, can equipment still contain that refrigerant? No? Yeah? Oh. Oh my god. Correct. Phasing out the refrigerant means that it can no longer buy, producer, or imported refrigerant contained in existing equipment can still be used, bought and sold. So yeah, equipment can still contain phased out refrigerant. After refrigerant is phased out, can technicians still service equipment containing that with that refrigerant? Yeah. After being phased out, where can technician obtain refrigerant to service equipment still using the phase out refrigerant? After being phased out, where can technician obtain refrigerant to service the equipment still using the phased out refrigerant? From importing it from other state, from recovered refrigerant, I think from recovered refrigerants, or from importing it, I don't know. No. They cannot import it. Yeah, and they cannot buy outside from the another states. Correct. After refrigerant is phased out, technician can be obtained from
Let's take a
recovered
look at a
and
short
reclaimed
video on the
refrigerant.
effects of phasing out refrigerants.
Did you know that Freon is being phased out by the year 2020 due to government regulations? And did you know that this phase out is leading to costly AC unit repairs and replacements, since all units will soon need to run on the new refrigerant called Puron? Not clear on what any of this means? No problem. We're here to help. First, let's talk about Freon, also known as R22. Many home air conditioning units, also called HVAC units, that were built before 2010 run on a refrigerant called Freon. The federal government wants to discontinue use of Freon because of its ozone-depleting properties. In order to get rid of it for good, the government has mandated that Freon production be reduced over time until year 2020, when it will no longer be available. With this, Freon AC units are no longer being manufactured. So replacement parts are becoming less available and more costly. What's worse, given that many homeowners are still using AC units that require Freon, and supply for the refrigerant is shrinking, the price for the refrigerant is quickly on the rise. This means a simple part replacement can be a costly repair. Why? Because AC units lose refrigerant when a part fails. So it can cost hundreds, even thousands of dollars just to refill the unit with Freon. What's taking place of Freon? Going forward, all new air conditioners will use a refrigerant called Puron, also known as R410A, which is deemed safer for the environment and more energy efficient. However, the problem is that you cannot add Puron refrigerant to an air conditioner that's designed to run on Freon. They simply are not compatible. An analogy would be like trying to use unleaded gasoline in a diesel engine. Of course, the next question is, can I just modify my existing air conditioner to make it compatible with Puron? The simple answer is that it depends on the type of air conditioner. Sometimes split systems can be modified, whereas packaged AC systems must be completely replaced. Let's take a look at the two different systems. A split air conditioning system has two major components that are located in two different parts of the home. The first component is a large metal box, called a condenser, that is located on the outside of the home on the ground. The second component is referred to as the air handler. The air handler is located inside the home, either in the attic, garage, or closet. Let's say a common part in the condenser, like the coil, fails and needs to be replaced. This item may not be available for Freon units, so the entire condenser has to be replaced with a Puron one. This presents a problem. Now, the other half of the air conditioning system, the air handler, will need to be replaced with matching Puron components to be compatible. Another common failure is the compressor, which is located inside of the condenser. These are typically available for Freon units. However, with the ever-rising cost of Freon, this repair could become very costly, since the whole system will need to be refilled with refrigerant. In this scenario, the homeowner may choose to replace the entire unit to a new Puron one to avoid the high cost of Freon refrigerant. Now, let's take a look at a packaged air conditioning unit. A packaged unit is most commonly located on the roof of a home. It's called a packaged unit because all of the main mechanical parts are housed together in one casing. There are specific parts in a package unit that can fail and may be deemed unrepairable. This could either be due to the expense of the repair exceeding the cost of a new unit or the part no longer being available. In either case, the entire system would need to be replaced with a new Puron system. As you can see, the Freon phase-out impacts homeowners in a significant way. At some point, any homeowner with a Freon system will need to make a sizable investment to make the switch to Puron. Please help us spread the word about the Freon phase-out by sharing this information with your friends and family. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our Freon forum on our website at oneguardhw.com/Freon or give us a call at 888-896-00.
In conclusion, the Montreal Protocol is an international agreement between 197 countries to phase out the use of chemicals that deplete ozone. Along with the Clean Air Act, the Montreal Protocol has been critical in reducing the amount of ozone-depleting substances in the atmosphere. The good news is that due to the Clean Air Act and the Montreal Protocol, the ozone layer is healing. Ozone is produced naturally in the atmosphere, and without ozone-depleting refrigerants, levels of ozone are increasing to their natural levels again. Because of this, ozone levels should return to normal levels by about 2065.
Okay, this Montreal Protocol. The next one. I don't know why it's marked that we done it, but we didn't done yet. So we finished Clean Air Act and the Venting Prohibition, Montreal Protocol. Let's go to AHRI Standard 700.
In this module, we will go over the
Air
AHRI
Conditioning,
Standard
Heating and
700 and what it means to
Refrigerants
a technician.
AHRI
700.
stands for Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute. It is a trade association for the manufacturers of HVAC equipment that develops standards and guidelines for modern industry-accepted practices. The AHRI sets specific standards for recovering and reclaiming refrigerants. Recall that recovering refers to removing refrigerant from a system and storing it in a separate container. The AHRI is one of 2 organizations certified by the EPA to set these standards. Reclaiming refrigerant means to reprocess it. Reprocessing refrigerant involves a set of steps that clean the refrigerant and basically make it as good as new. A place that reclaims refrigerants can be compared to a dishwasher. Like a dishwasher, it goes through various cycles to clean the refrigerant and make it usable again. To reclaim the refrigerant, you must first recover it from the appliance. After it is recovered, it is then sent to an EPA-certified facility to be reclaimed. Reprocessed refrigerant must meet the specifications of new refrigerant to qualify for resale. AHRI Standard 700-2016 determines the standard of purity that reclaimed refrigerants must meet. Refrigerant that is ozone depleting has to meet these standards of purity before it can be resold or change ownership. For example, if you recover R22 from a system, you cannot use that R22 refrigerant in other people's appliances. The only exception is if you use it in similar appliances, preferably if they're owned by the same person. Otherwise, that recovered R22 refrigerant needs to be reclaimed to virgin specifications, according to the AHRI Standard 700, before it can change ownership. The purity of refrigerants can be verified using analytical test procedures described in the AHRI Standard 700.
Can a refrigerant be resolved? Yeah, but only if it has been reclaimed to AHRI standard specification. Yeah, but only if it has been inspected by the EPA. Yeah, or refrigerant can be resolved. No, yeah, but reclaimed to AHRI specification. Standard specification. I think this one is correct. Yeah. If you recover R22, okay, can you use it in another device owned by a different person? Okay, if we recovered R12 refrigerant, can we use in another device owned by a different person? Yeah, but only if it has been reclaimed to HR standard. Yeah, but only if it has been inspected. Okay, to a different person.
In conclusion,
Yeah, correct.
AHRI is an organization that produces modern guidelines for the HVAC industry. The AHRI Standard 700-2016 dictates the specifications of purity that refrigerant must be reclaimed to before being resold.
Okay, so We finish Clean Air Act, Venting Prohibition, and Montreal Protocol AHRI standard. Let's go to Section 608 overview.
In this module, we will look at the purpose of Section 608 and determine which refrigerants it regulates.
Section 608 includes provisions that mandate the protection of the ozone layer. The ozone is a gas found within the Earth's atmosphere. The highest concentration of ozone is found between the stratosphere and troposphere, where it forms the ozone layer. The ozone layer performs the essential task of absorbing harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun. As we discussed earlier, when chlorine-containing refrigerants are released into the atmosphere, they destroy the ozone layer, allowing harmful UV rays to reach the surface. This results in an increased risk of skin cancer, among other threats to human, animal, and plant life. Section 608 focuses on regulating refrigerant chemicals that contain chlorine. These are the most harmful to the ozone layer. So which specific refrigerants are covered under Section 608? The refrigerants that are most harmful to the ozone layer are CFCs, or chlorofluorocarbons like R11 and R12, and HCFCs, or hydrochlorofluorocarbons like R22. Section 608 refrigerant management requirements apply to all CFCs, HCFCs, and their substitutes. This includes HFC refrigerants, which were developed as an alternative to CFCs and HCFCs. HFCs do not destroy ozone, but they do contribute to global warming. This is why HFCs are also subject to Section 608 regulations. Section 608 regulations apply to all appliances that contain ozone-depleting refrigerants. These appliances include freezers, air conditioning equipment, and commercial refrigeration equipment. All substances contained in these appliances are considered refrigerants, since they are used for cooling purposes.
Which of the following is CFC? Select all. This R12. Okay. And R22. No, R12 only. R11. Sorry. R11 and R12. Which of the following do Section 608 regulate apply to? Okay. HCFCs, HFC, all. Okay. I think CFC is more. Section CFCs and HFCs. This mean both. Yeah. Okay. CFCs and HCFCs and HFCs. Okay. Which of the following is HCFC? R22. Correct. What appliances does Section 608 regulate apply to? Freezers, discount dehumidification, both A and B. Incorrect. So freezers can contain ozone depleting refrigerant, so they are covered by Section 608. Discount humidifiers work by absorbing moisture from the air to provide cooling. They don't contain refrigerant. Okay. What other appliances do Section 608 regulate apply to? Select the best answer. Commercial refrigerant equipment, air conditioning equipment. Both.
If a refrigerant is not a CFC,
Yeah.
HCFC, or HFC, then the Section 608 regulations we will discuss in the next module does not apply to them. For example, the natural refrigerants that we discussed in the venting prohibition module are not covered by Section 608. Section 608 regulations on refrigerant management do not apply to natural refrigerants such as carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water. These natural refrigerants are not harmful to the ozone layer. We will discuss the specific management requirements of the affected refrigerants in the next module. However, note that these requirements do not apply to natural refrigerants. If you are interested to know more, see 40 CFR Section 82.154 for a list of complete exemptions.
Which of the following are excluded from Section 608 refrigerant management requirements? Select all. Water, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. Equipment that uses nitrogen as a refrigerant is not subject to Section 608 requirement. Yeah.
Section 608 certification is necessary for any technician who services a part that comes into contact with affected refrigerants. For example, if a technician is replacing a system component with R22, they need Section 608 certification. This is because you would need to first recover the refrigerant to prevent it from illegally venting. And any handling of ozone-depleting refrigerants and their substitutes requires Section 608 certification. To summarize, you would need Section 608 certification for the following services: recovering refrigerant, replacing system components, and any activity that exposes the refrigerant circuit. The refrigerant circuit is the flow of refrigerant in the system. If your service interrupts the flow of refrigerant in any way, you need Section 608 certification. If you are not coming into contact with refrigerant and not altering the refrigerant circuit, then you don't need certification. An example of a service that does not violate the refrigerant circuit would be replacing an external electrical circuit. External circuits do not touch refrigerant inside the coils where refrigerant is, so you would not need certification. In conclusion, Section 608 regulates the use of refrigerant chemicals that contain chlorine to prevent ozone depletion. The regulatory requirements apply to CFC, HCFC, and HFC refrigerants and to equipment that contain these refrigerants. In the next module, we'll take a look at the specific requirements that we have to follow for these refrigerants.
Okay, so we finished 608 overview. Let's go to the next one. 608, Section 608 regulations. Okay.
Section 608 regulations are regulated by the EPA and are subject to change. As a technician, it is your responsibility to be up to date on the latest EPA regulation changes. There may also be additional state and local regulations on refrigerant use that you'll have to know. In order to protect the ozone layer, Section 608 regulates the following: Equipment requirements, sales restrictions, major record-keeping requirements, safe disposal, reclamation specifications, and service requirements. These Section 608 regulations apply to all ozone-depleting refrigerants and their substitutes. This includes CFCs, HCFCs, and HFCs. Any equipment used to service systems with ozone-depleting refrigerants must be certified by an EPA-approved testing organization. Equipment must be up to EPA standards to eliminate the risk of accidentally releasing refrigerant. Let's say you need to service a system containing R22 refrigerant. All the equipment you use to service the system must be certified by an EPA-approved testing organization. For instance, you must use an approved recovery device. Currently, the EPA has approved 2 bodies to certify such equipment: the AHRI, Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute, and UL, Underwriters Laboratories.
Which of the following refrigerants can only be recovered by equipment that's been certified to the EPA standard? Select apply. Okay, I think this is 3. Yeah, correct. Which organization tests recovery equipment used to service system with R12 refrigerant? It's both E and B. UL and
Only
HRI.
certified technicians can purchase ozone-depleting refrigerants or their substitutes. If you are selling refrigerants, you must check that the buyer has Section 608 certification or employs a technician that is Section 608 certified.
You must have Section 608 certification in order to purchase which of the following. Select all that buy. This CFC, HCFC, and HFCs. Which of the following do you not need Section 608 certification and purchase? It's nitrogen. If you are selling R22 refrigerant, who can you sell? Select all that apply. An environmentalist, an EPA official. Okay, a technician with Section 08 certification. A business that employs technician with this section. Oh, okay. Technician. The sales restriction in Section 608 limit sale for ozone dependent on refrigerant, including R22, to technicians who are Section 608 certified, and also EPA officials are not necessary.
The following
Section
people
A,
need to
EPA
maintain proper
officials, they can
records of
buy it.
refrigerants: service technicians, owners and operators of large refrigeration and air conditioning equipment, refrigerant wholesalers, and EPA-certified refrigerant reclaimers.
Who doesn't need to maintain proper records of refrigerant? Who doesn't need to maintain proper records of refrigerant? I think wholesaler or something. Oh my god, reclaimers.
All
So
responsible
EPA
parties
is not
must keep
responsible for
records
maintaining
documenting
record
dates,
of
refrigerant type,
EPA.
refrigerant charge amounts, quantity, and related information for equipment servicing and disposal. The purpose of these record-keeping requirements is to keep track of the amount and type of refrigerant in the cylinder. The last refrigerant charge, for example, is needed on the records because it indicates how much refrigerant is in the cylinder. The refrigerant type also needs to be indicated to prevent the accidental mixture of incompatible refrigerants.
Which of the following must be included in the record of R22? Select all that to apply. Which of the following must be included in the record of R22 refrigerant? Type of refrigerant, dates, type and dates, quantity of refrigerant, all. Model of appliances, type of refrigerant, sure. Okay, dates, quantity
Before
of
disposing of
refrigerant,
refrigeration and air conditioning equipment,
module of
you must make
appliance, not
sure that
required.
all refrigerant has been removed from the appliance. The final person in the disposal chain is responsible for making sure this happens.
What needs to be done before disposing of equipment that contains CFC, HCFC, or other substance? Recover the refrigerant, reclaim the refrigerant, clean the equipment, remove chloride from refrigerant. For disposing equipment. Okay. Clean the equipment. I think he will clean. That sounds correct. Remove chloride from all. Yeah. Let's see. Incorrect. Section 608 indicates that all CFC, HCFC, and their substances must be recovered. Okay, before disposing. Under Section 608 regulation, who is responsible for ensuring that all refrigerant is removed before disposing out equipment that contain refrigerant? The owner or technician, the person coordinating with EPA, EPA branch staff, the
Reclamation
final
refers to
person
the
in disposing
reprocessing of
chain.
refrigerant to attain the purity level specified in the AHRI Standard 700-2016. If refrigerant changes ownership, it must be reclaimed to virgin specifications per AHRI Standard 700. This process can only be done by a reclaimer that meets EPA certification requirements. And finally, technicians need to evacuate air conditioning equipment to established vacuum levels during servicing and disposal. Evacuating refers to the process of removing excess materials from the system. Doing this prevents premature failures of equipment that can vent refrigerant into the atmosphere. If refrigerant is released during theft or vandalism, this is also a violation of Section 608. All offenders will be subject to the same penalties under the Clean Air Act as previously discussed. Something else to keep in mind is that if we are working on a system with refrigerant R22, for example, we cannot top off the system with our 410A or any other refrigerant except for R22. If you top off with a different refrigerant than what is in the system, the mixture becomes unusable and may be impossible to reclaim. When a reclaimer receives such a mixture, they may refuse to accept it and are more likely to destroy it. If you discover that you have accidentally mixed two refrigerants, you must recover the mixture in a separate recovery cylinder for disposal. You need a separate recovery cylinder because you don't want this mixture to contaminate the contents of other cylinders.
What must you do if you discover that you have added refrigerant B to the systems that contain refrigerant A? Consider that refrigerant A is ozone depleting. Vent the
In
refrigerant,
conclusion,
recover the
Section
mixture in separate
608 lays
recovery
out a
cylinder.
framework of regulatory requirements. The purpose of these requirements is to set restrictions on the use of refrigerants that are harmful to humans and the environment. All violations of Section 608 are violations of the Clean Air Act. We previously discussed the fines and legal consequences for such violations. That is why it's important that technicians are aware and up to date on these regulations, in addition to any state and local laws.
Okay, this is section 608 regulations. Okay, let's take the quiz for regulations and guidelines. Okay. Okay. Oh, now we have 37 questions. Oh, let's start. Okay. The Clean Air Act states that it is a violation to purposely vent refrigerants that adapt ozone. The Clean Air Act states that it is a violation to purposely vent refrigerants that, yeah, true. Okay. Question number 2. Okay. After a refrigerant is phased out, can technicians sell service equipment containing that refrigerant? Yeah. After being phased out, where can technician obtain refrigerant to service equipment that contains refrigerant? Select all. From importing it from other states, from recovered refrigerant. Okay. And from reclaimed refrigerant, yeah. Can refrigerant be resold? Yeah, but only if it has been reclaimed by AHL. Yeah. Equipment has to be certified to EPA standard in order to recover which of the following refrigerant. Yeah, if it's CFC, HCFC, HFC. If you are selling R22 refrigerant, who can you sell to? An environmentalist, an EPA official, yeah. Technician with Section 0608 certification, yeah. A businesses that employ technician, no. If you recover R12 refrigerant, can you use the recovered refrigerant in another device owned by a different person? Yeah, but it's only if it has been reclaimed to AHR standard 700 specification. Yeah. Okay. In the United States, when were all CFC phased out by? 1995. In the United States, when were R22 and R14 phased out? It is R22, I think 2020. Okay. In the United States, when will all CFC be phased out? 2030. Which of the following record must be kept for an R22? Type of refrigerant, date, quantity of refrigerant. Section 608 of the Clean Air Act. Okay, section 608 of the Clean Air Act is set of federal guidelines on limiting air pollution, federal law, federal law, state and local regulation dot have to be following in addition to federal CCA regulation, have to be followed instead of, in addition to federal law, and they also may be stricter than federal CCA regulation. The venting proportion requirements that you recover affected refrigerant before selected A. The venting proportion requires that you recover affected refrigerant before opening equipment, before servicing equipment, and opening it, and disposing also. Under Section 608 regulation, who is responsible for ensure that all refrigerant is removed before disposing of equipment that contain the owner or technician, the person coordinate with the EPA branch staff, the final person in the disposal chain. What appliances does Section 608 regulate apply? Freezers. Does Section 608 apply to freezers? Discount dehumidifier, both A and B. Freezers. What does SNAP stand for? Significant New Alternative Policy. What is the fine of violating the Clean Air Act? The fine is 44,539. What is the Montreal Protocol? A United States federal law? No, international agreement between 197 countries. What is the purpose of Section 608? To protect the ozone layer, yeah. To regulate use of chemicals that adapt, yeah. Dispose, okay. What is the purpose of SNAP? To evaluate alternative refrigerant. To further the goal of the CCA to consider effect of substance refrigerant on human, to consider effect of substance on environment. No. What do you do if you discover that you have added refrigerant B to the system that contained refrigerant A? Consider the refrigerant A is ozone depleting. Vent? No. Recover the mixture and separate recovery cylinder? Yeah. What needed to be done before disposing of equipment that contains CFC, HCFC, or other substance? Okay, what to be done? Recover the refrigerant, reclaim the refrigerant, clean the equipment, remove chloride from refrigerant. Okay, reclaim the refrigerant. Recover the criminal. I must recover it. Okay. Next question 24. What other appliances do Section 608 regulate apply to? Select subject answer. Commercial refrigerant, air conditioning equipment. Both A and B. Okay. What penalties can technicians face if they violate the Clean Air Act? Select that to apply. They may be lose their Section 608 certificate. No. They may set federal charges. Yeah. They may have to community service. They may be fined. Okay. Which of the following are considered the minimus release of refrigerant? Select all that apply. HCFC release when disposing hoses equipment with lawless fittings. Yeah. A release of HFCC, release of carbon dioxide with loose fittings, release of HCFC due to catastrophic failure of equipment. Yeah. Which of the following, I'm not sure from this one. Which of the following are, we flagged this one. Which of the following are excluded from Section 608 refrigerant management requirements? Select all that apply. Which of the following are excluded from Section 608 refrigerant management requirement? Carbon dioxide, yeah, and water and nitrogen. Which of the following are violates of CAA venting prohibition? Sorry. Select that apply. Are violations of CCA venting prohibition. Release the fragrance because appliances were not recovered. Releasing isobutane while servicing equipment. Releasing HCFC because of catastrophic equipment. Failure? No, not this one. Refrigerant released when disconnected non-loss hoses to serve appliances. Okay, I'm not sure for this one. I'm not sure from this one. Which of the following are considered natural refrigerant? Select if any. R290, R6A, are all, I think. Not sure of this one, but I think it's, yeah. Which of the following do you need Section 608 certification to purchase? HFC and CFC, and which of the following don't need, don't, this is nitrogen. Which of the following is a CFC? Shows that apply R12 and R22. Which of the following is HCFC, CFC is R12, HCFC is R22. Okay. And which of the following refrigerants does the venting proportion cover? Which of the following refrigerant does venting proportion cover? CFC and HCFC. CFC, yeah, this. Okay, which organization can test your recovery equipment used to service system with R12? Both and BUL and HRI. Who doesn't need to maintain proper records of refrigerant? Say EPA. Which of the following are considered the minimum? Release, select that apply. Which of the following are considered the minimum release? Catastrophic equipment failure, accident release with timely repair of appliances. Yeah. consider the minimum release when connected or disconnected hoods with, yeah, this one. Release when connected or disconnected hose was loaded. Okay. No. I'm not sure from this one also. Equipment that uses nitrogen as refrigerant is not subject to Section 60A requirement. Equipment that uses, yeah, finish attempt. Okay, let's submit and see. Okay, we have our score is 9.21 out from 10. Okay, all, let's see, all is correct except I think there is one question or something. Let's see, this all correct. This one, which of the following are violation of CAA vending prohibition? Release of refrigerant because of appliances were not recovered? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Just this question and all the others correct. Now we finish this one. Finish review. Okay, so we finish the core regulations and guidelines. As we see, the next video will continue core refrigerant cycle.